you think Yandy and Mendeecees have an open relationship?
At some point, maybe living in your truth is probably a better option.
The atmosphere inside the studio was electric. A soft hum of excitement filled the air as the crew made final adjustments. Cameras were in position, lights were perfectly dimmed to create a warm, welcoming feel, and the sleek, modern set glowed softly under the overhead lights. Everything was set for what promised to be a powerful, emotionally charged conversation. Carlos King, the charming and bold host of Reality with the King, stood at the center of it all, wearing his signature, confident smile. Known for his skill in getting celebrities to open up in ways they rarely do, Carlos was in his element. Today's guests were a well-known couple from the world of reality TV, Rasheeda and Kirk Frost, longtime stars of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
Do you feel like Yandy and Mendeecees are trying to come for y'all's spot?
Hey, long story short, me and Rasheeda's contract was up in month. That's what really happened.
With decades of television fame behind them, they weren't just guests. They were icons in the reality world with a love story that had played out in the public eye for over 20 years. As Rasheeda and Kirk walked onto the set, they carried themselves with the ease of people who had been through the fire and come out stronger. Rasheeda's presence lit up the room instantly. Her style was bold, her long braids swayed as she moved, and her energy was infectious. Kirk, walking beside her, seemed calm and steady, his expression cool but alert as he scanned the small studio audience seated around them. Once they were seated across from Carlos, the real conversation began. Carlos leaned in, his voice warm and friendly but also layered with curiosity. He didn't waste time with small talk. He dove right into what everyone wanted to know. How had they made it through 2 decades of love, fame, betrayal, and public judgment? Rasheeda answered first. Her voice was strong, but there was emotion just beneath the surface. She talked openly about the struggles they had faced, not just as a couple, but as individuals growing together under constant public pressure. She didn't hide from the hard parts. She talked about the heartbreak, the disappointment, and the times she wasn't sure if their marriage would survive. Still, what stood out was her deep belief in fighting for what mattered. For her, that meant holding on to the love they had built and pushing through even the worst moments. Kirk followed with his own reflections. Normally more reserved, he didn't try to sugarcoat anything. He admitted to his mistakes, the lies, the moments when he hurt his wife, and the long road he had taken to earn back her trust. His voice was steady, serious. It was clear he had thought a lot about his past and the man he wanted to be now. He spoke about growth, about learning the hard way, and about the kind of effort it takes to truly rebuild something that's been broken. The audience sat in silence, hanging on every word. It wasn't just the celebrity factor that had everyone captivated. It was the raw honesty, the courage it takes to sit in front of cameras and talk about real pain, especially the kind that millions have watched unfold on screen. But just when it seemed the conversation had reached its emotional high point, Carlos took a different route. He gave a slight smile, that familiar, knowing look that said he was about to stir the pot. Without missing a beat, he brought up another couple from the Love and Hip Hop franchise, Yandy Smith-Harris and Mendeecees. Carlos mentioned the rumors that had recently started to swirl about them. On the surface, they had always seemed like a strong, united pair. But whispers had begun talk about trouble in their marriage, and Carlos wanted to know if Rasheeda or Kirk had heard anything. The question changed the energy in the room instantly. Rasheeda's smile faded. Her body shifted slightly, and her expression became serious. You could see the hesitation in her eyes. She and Yandy had been close friends for years. They had leaned on each other during tough times and celebrated each other's wins. This wasn't just gossip about some distant reality stars. This was personal. Kirk's jaw tightened, his body language reflecting a quiet tension. He looked over at Rasheeda, as if silently asking her how much she was willing to say. Carlos didn't push too hard, but he also didn't back off. With gentle persistence, he asked Rasheeda again if there was anything she could share, not to cause drama, but to speak truthfully about what was really going on behind the scenes. After a brief pause, Rasheeda took a deep breath. Her voice was calm, but there was a heaviness in her tone. She explained that a mutual friend, someone both she and Yandy trusted, had shared something troubling. According to the friend, there were signs that Mendeecees might not be as loyal as he appeared. Late-night outings, flirty conversations with other women, messages being passed around, screenshots that made the claims hard to ignore. Rasheeda made it clear that she hated gossip. She didn't want to judge anyone or speak on things that weren't her business. But the details were too specific to ignore. Dates, places, names. It wasn't just speculation, it felt real. Kirk added his own take. While he didn't go into too much detail, he acknowledged that he had noticed a change in Mendeecees lately. Something in his energy felt off. When Kirk tried to ask him directly if things were okay at home, Mendeecees had brushed it off, calling the rumors just blog talk. But Kirk's gut told him something else. He didn't press further out of loyalty, but the doubt lingered. Then came a moment that made the whole room shift. Rasheeda told Carlos that she had actually reached out to Yandy about it. She didn't want to hurt her, but she also couldn't stay silent. She described the conversation with care, remembering how she had approached Yandy gently, trying not to make things worse. She hadn't accused or confronted, she had just asked if everything was okay. Yandy's reaction had been surprising. Normally, she would brush off gossip with fire and confidence. But this time, she had been quiet. She didn't deny the rumors outright. Instead, she said vaguely that they were working through things. To Rasheeda, that said everything. It wasn't just that Yandy didn't fight back against the rumors, it was the sadness in her voice. It sounded like she was holding something back, protecting herself from the pain of saying too much. The studio was still. No one moved. Everyone was taking it in, understanding the weight of what was being shared. Carlos let the moment settle before moving on. His timing was perfect. He asked gently how Yandy was doing, how she was holding up under all this pressure. Rasheeda's response was full of love. She talked about how strong Yandy was not just as a wife and mother, but as a businesswoman and activist. She had built a name for herself, fought for justice, raised her family, and handled fame with grace. But even strong women have limits. If Mendeecees was really betraying her, Rasheeda worried it could break something in her. Then, Carlos turned to Kirk. As someone who had once been in a similar position, the man accused of betrayal, what advice would he give? Kirk didn't hold back. He spoke from experience, his voice full of quiet regret. He said the only way to fix a broken relationship was to be honest. Completely. No dodging. No blaming others. Just facing the truth and doing the work. He admitted it took time, and even then, not every relationship could survive. But if Mendeecees wanted to keep his family together, Kirk said, he had to take responsibility first. The audience nodded, clearly moved by Kirk's honesty. Carlos saw the conversation reaching its emotional climax, and so he asked one final question: what advice would Rasheeda give Yandy right now? Rasheeda didn't hesitate. Her words were heartfelt, and her tone was protective. She said Yandy needed to guard her peace. If the love was real, if it was worth fighting for, then fight. But if the respect was gone, she needed to be strong enough to walk away. She deserved truth. She deserved love that didn't come with betrayal. And if Mendeecees couldn't give her that, she had the strength to start over. The audience clapped softly, murmuring in agreement. To lighten the mood before the show ended, Carlos playfully asked if Rasheeda and Yandy might talk about all this on the next season of Love and Hip Hop. Rasheeda laughed, shaking her head. Her smile returned, and it felt like the tension lifted for a moment. Some things are too real for reality TV, she said. This is between friends. If we talk, it'll be just us, no cameras. Kirk nodded in agreement, backing her up with a quiet strength that showed their unity. As the episode wrapped up, Carlos thanked them for being so open and real. He turned to the audience and encouraged them to subscribe and keep watching for more powerful moments like this. The cameras slowly zoomed out, capturing one last look at Rasheeda and Kirk as they exchanged a glance, a silent understanding between two people who had just shared a heavy truth with the world. The studio lights dimmed, but the impact of their words remained. For Rasheeda, this interview wasn't just about spilling tea. It was about supporting a friend and being brave enough to speak the truth. For Kirk, it was a moment of reflection, a chance to show how far he had come and offer wisdom to someone walking a similar path. And for Yandy, wherever she was watching from, it was a reminder that she wasn't alone. Her friends had her back, even when things got messy. Her story wasn't over. But a new chapter was starting, one full of hard questions, maybe some heartbreak, but also love, support, and strength. Carlos had done what he always does best, created a space where real stories could be told. And this one would stay with viewers for a long time. And there you have it, y'all. This wasn't just another sit-down, this was real, raw, and unfiltered. Rasheeda and Kirk didn't hold back. They opened up about their own struggles and stood in truth while still protecting someone they clearly care about, Yandy. Whether the rumors are true or not, one thing's clear: real friendships, real marriages, and real life don't always look perfect. But they're worth fighting for if both people are willing to put in the work. This conversation wasn't about gossip. It was about growth, loyalty, and learning how to move forward after the pain. And sometimes, the most powerful moments happen off camera. What Rasheeda said about supporting Yandy privately, that's real love. That's sisterhood. So now I want to hear from YOU. Do you think Mendeecees is really out here moving foul? Should Yandy keep fighting for their marriage? Or is it time for her to choose peace over problems? Drop your thoughts in the comments and be real with it. If you felt this episode, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more exclusive interviews, more truth-telling, and definitely more real talk. This is Reality with the King, where the drama is real, but so is the healing. Until next time, stay honest, stay kind, and always protect your peace. Peace, love, and reality.